Today's guest is Dr. Selina Chew, the founder of Disruptive Doctors. In the early days of her entrepreneurial journey, Selina did what many founders do when they see a proven model abroad. She brought it to Malaysia. She put in the blood, sweat, and tears of building this brand. She educated the market, built the community, and did the heavy lifting of making an unknown name a local household word in the medical community. But there was a hidden flaw in the foundation. It wasn't her brand. She was building equity for someone else, a brand that could be taken away at any moment, leaving her with no control. Let's dive into how Selena realized she was renting her success and how she pivoted to building a brand that she actually owns. Selena, welcome to the pod.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
It has, yeah. And thanks for the free attempts of recording that opening. line. Uh, um, at the start when you were kind of coming out of the medical space, right? From you were a medical doctor. Why did it kind of feel safer for you to bring in sort of an established overseas brand to Malaysia rather than just starting Disruptive Doctors from day one?
That's a good question. So when I first started, I guess entrepreneurship was not part of the plan. The plan
Mm,
was go become a specialist, be an intensivist. That was the plan A, right?
mhm.
And it failed, so I had to go to like plan C, so which was entrepreneurship. So before I went into this, I mean a lot of you already may have already known my story. I was in clinical practice and I had a back injury and then I went to medical research. So while I was there, I had a lot of time on my hands. And I thought, why not try everything I could? And I read a particular book that changed my life, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad. So that
Okay,
book,
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that's changed the lives of a lot of people I know, right?
Hmm.
I mean, there's good and bad, but so after reading the book, I realized, okay, I need to start a business, right? And I don't know why. I thought I needed to start a business and I thought I wanted to make some money off the internet. Today, Disruptive Doctors is a whole different animal from when I first started. So I was reading so many of these books by all these gurus, and everyone said that if you want to start fast, hop on to somebody else's business. Like if it's sort of the infrastructure is there, like whoever is running this thing, just make a deal with them and build it on top of their brand. That
Yeah.
was that was my thought process then. And I was really, one, I didn't know where to start.
Mm.
Secondly, I didn't know what I needed to do. Thirdly, of course, I was too afraid to put any of my own money into it.
Time out, guys. Uh, Lots of you are watching, lots of you are learning from the founder fuck ups that we've all gone through. But please do me one little teeny favor and subscribe so that we can keep growing the channel and get more great founders on. Back to the episode. But yeah, I know that one where the fear of investing early. What if it fails? And so I can kind of understand from everything you've read. It's like, hey, take a tried and tested model, follow the playbook. Like it reduces that risk, right? Reduces that fear. And that brand, when you brought it here, was practically unknown, right? So you did a lot of work of getting the word out. Looking back, what was kind of the hardest part of the market education that you essentially kind of did for free for someone else's brand, like benefit and brand, right? What was the hardest part of that?
Hardest part was because I didn't come up with the brand, right? So I didn't come up with the mission. I didn't come up with the statement and all of that. And convincing people of why they need this, I think that was a little difficult
Yeah.
because it wasn't my soul in the brand, even though it felt like it, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie that taking somebody else's brand and building on top of it actually made it a lot faster for me.
Yeah.
I would think if I had to start everything from scratch, it would have taken me maybe a year to launch, right? But because I used somebody else's brand, the infrastructure was there, the website was there, they had all the CRM, everything was plugged in.
Mm.
I just needed to use sort of plug and play. I think that was what I did at the beginning was right for where I was, which was
Yeah.
really new, really green. I was just starting out. I was just wanting to know whether this works, just testing the market. That was actually the right thing. But I think knowing when, okay, it's time to really jump all in and build what's yours. I think that
Mm.
was the distinction for me.
I get it. Like, you kind of get a business in a box, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you got the CRM, you got everything. You just an instruction manual of how. Was that kind of like that specific? Because you ended up doing it for yourself. Was there like a specific moment where it finally clicked? Right, that we've got all this hard work. It's somebody else's brand. It's not my vision. It's not my mission. Which I am sure impacts kind of like that ownership piece. Was there kind of a specific moment where you felt, oh, I don't have control over our future and we need to do something different?
Yes, definitely. I mean, when we started out, okay, this I have this, what do you call it? Like grandiosity, like we're gonna take over the world, I'm gonna dominate the world, and
Yeah.
me and my co-founder even joke like how we're gonna take over the brand, like all that jokes. Like we used to do all that, but it came a point when because I had to pay a licensing fee
Yeah.
to the main company. It wasn't a lot. It was probably the price of a sandwich, right?
Oh,
But
okay. Very low.
it was still sweet, right? And somewhere along the line, I think in year 2 or 3 maybe, they told me that, "Okay, we've not revised this licensing fee. We're gonna double it every year,
Mm,
until it reaches market rate." And at that point, I asked, like, "What is market rate?" They don't know. And the doubling, it just keeps going, and they will just keep raising the fee until they're happy with whatever fees they have. That was one. And secondly, I realized that I put so much of so much of our sweat and our marketing dollars to build a brand here, but we're not exactly the same company. I have my revenue stream, share revenue, so I could have done all that marketing, but the sale would have went to that because the customers wouldn't know that, "Hey, you guys are
mm,
not the same," right?
yeah.
So I'm not getting any ROI on that. So that was the point, like, I think that was like 2.5 years or 3 years in was when I realized, okay, we have to decide. Yes, we've gained like maybe 2,000 over or 3,000 users at that time. Like, if I were to just leave them and come up with my own brand, I can't bring all these guys to me, right? I'm gonna have like potential lawsuits and all that. So we had to decide at that point, do we want to start from zero again? Do we
Yeah.
continue building this? But if we continue building this, it's just delayed pain. Like down the line, something like this would happen. So it's either you deal with the pain now or you deal with the pain later.
Yeah.
And that was when we did, I mean, we realized that, hey, we've made it this far to easily redo the whole thing again. We can easily build this up again with a different brand that's more us, that has more of our DNA and our soul in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess as well, having, well, there's a few things there to just unpack, right? You've got one, you've got a license that you're paying for, and they're saying, hey, we're going to just keep increasing the price. And if you want to maintain ownership of this license, you have no choice but. So you're kind of like locked in at whatever the hell they want to charge you if you want to keep it in this business. But two, it's like the sunk cost fallacy, right? You invested so much time, effort, sweat and tears and marketing dollars into getting to 3,000 users. Like, it must have been so hard to actually go, hey, we're gonna have to stop this. How were the conversations with you and your co-founders and your team like about that? Was there one of you on the fence of, hey, we just dropped it? Somebody else was like bullish, hey, we've got to get out, we've got to go build our own brand. Was that like really difficult?
I think the conversation wasn't difficult. Like we saw this as at the point when I brought this up with my co-founder. I think we saw the issue, and I think one thing I'm very grateful for is that my co-founder has the same values, has the same mindset as I do. So I mean, even though we fight like cats and dogs, but the fact that we have the same mindset, same values around what we're building, it was so much easier to say like, hey, are we going to deal with this now or we want to deal with it later? And dealing with it later would be would be so much more pain, right? And I think at that time I started talking to investors, and that was a point that was brought up, like this isn't your brand. But at
Mm,
that time, before that, when people told me this, I didn't really understand it until I went through that journey and seeing things firsthand. That was when I understood what they meant.
yeah, I think that's a signal when you've also got you're trying to raise capital and your investors go, hey, we're not investing in this. This isn't your company, and it definitely devalues whatever you are raising for.
Yeah, even though the SOP is ours, the whole website is ours, however we are building it is ours, it's just not our brand.
Yeah, it's not your name, right? And obviously, being in the medical space, yes, I've not worked in the medical space before. I've obviously been a customer, but it's. I think we were talking about kind of commodity versus community before, and why is it so dangerous to be perceived as a commodity brand that people actually trust and follow? Because you were saying in our like pre-interview that you wanted to you had to shift from this commodity view into a community. Tell me a bit about that.
So, commodity, I guess there's no moat, right? Everyone can build it.
Yeah,
Just like the okay, I'm gonna use like the current example, GPT wrapper. Like every single AI company, every single tech company has it. If you don't have it, if you don't have it, you're just not a tech company. You're not an AI company, right? That's like where the bar is, right? That is literally the flaw, right? But
yeah,
what is going to set you apart from everyone else is the brand. What you promise your customers, your clients, your users, that's you, right? It's like, for instance, okay, here everyone would say, we'll call a toothpaste Colgate. That's
sorry,
it.
what?
Here, everyone calls toothpaste Colgate.
Okay. Colgate.
Colgate
Yeah.
brand, right? Like that's just it.
It's like a jacuzzi.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a hot tub. Well, that's what it is, but jacuzzi.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So, but what if anyone's going to build a business, like something that is valuable? I think branding is basically the core of it. Because, okay, I shop online. I love shopping online. The moment I find another seller selling the same thing I want for 10 cents less, I will buy from that person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brand loyalty. No, seller loyalty.
I don't yeah, so because this is a commodity, if I need to buy
Yeah.
Colgate, for instance, I'm gonna choose the
The
one that
cheaper
has
vendor.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So, but if I'm gonna buy something for my face, I'm gonna choose something that I trust.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, that's pretty much what I see. Like the brand and the community that you build is basically the DNA core, the soul that you're building in there. But if you
Yeah.
sell a commodity, like it's everywhere. Anyone has it.
Absolutely. And so that community becomes your moat that people like, they know, like, and trust you. So that's why they're not switching from Colgate to whatever the hell of a toothpaste there is, no matter what marketing happens. I guess I'm kind of similar to you in that because, building the founder fuck ups community, like, we have our events, we've got the WhatsApp group, and that actually does become a bit of a moat in itself because people know, like, and trust the community. So if the community starts to have a product, there's already that
Yeah.
trust there, right? So when you finally switch, right? So we built this other company's, other brand's footprint here in Malaysia. We got to like 3,000 users. Now we've decided we're going to stop building someone else's brand. We're going to start our own. What was the scariest part of that transition? Was it to lose that audience that you already had because you couldn't just take them with you, and like you've got to start from scratch and you spent all this money? Like, what was the 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 biggest fear there?
I guess losing the traction because we built it to that point, and now all of a sudden I can't use that. I need to first I lost access to CRM. Secondly, even though we had our own site and users and all that, I can't say, hey guys, are now disruptive doctors, come with me. Um, I want to make sure that even though we business dealing has ended. I don't want it to end in a bad term, or I don't want basically I still wanted to leave it better than when I found it, right? Even
Yeah.
though the other side does not agree with me, they're not happy that I decided to move out of this and build our own thing. I still didn't want to violate that trust they had given to me, or uh, I still wanted to keep things right.
Yeah, yeah. No, makes sense. I think when you now got to build that brand and restart. Did you find when you started talking like on social media because you'd already kind of, I mean, your face and your name is a part of that other brand. When you started talking about disruptive, did you find some of that old audience followed you just by like organically?
Yes, definitely. They did. But okay, so what happened this whole rebranding exercise? Thank God for a mentor because I thought rebranding would just involve switching the logo. I thought that was what rebranding was all about, right? He sat me down, he sat both of us down, and he gave it to us good. Like, what? What are the both of you thinking? This is not how you do a rebrand. And I hit status through the whole thing, and then I realized, oh my god, it's like it's a whole exercise on its own, right?
Mm,
So it was 3 months till our we have an annual event. This
mm,
was 2023. So it was 3 months till that, and we were still using the old brand. And he said, okay, now you gotta make the switch on the event date itself. That is the switch. Because our contract would have ended with the license and all that would have ended before that. Just before
yeah,
that. But before that, I can't go out promoting our new brand, right? So what we did was on the surface, everyone thinks business as usual because
yeah,
social media is happening, talks are happening, everything with the same brand, everything is still going on. But underneath, oh my God, we were struggling because we had 3 months come up with a new name. What is
mm,
it? What do we want to do? How are we going to portray ourselves? What's the brand story and like the soul of it and revamp like part of the website. I mean, like we're gonna make a new website
mm,
because we're no longer using the old one. So there was so much that we had to do within 3 months. On top of that, we're
yeah,
running
yeah,
we're planning and organizing the conference. So
yeah,
that was really, really intense, but it really paid off because those that came, they knew that, okay, this is, we've dropped what we were and this is where our new direction is and all of that. And right after that, actually, all our socials, everything went dark because we wanted to just have a clean cut and then
yeah.
just give it some time before we restart. Because
Forward boot.
again, yeah, like I still wanted to keep things clean.
Yeah.
But that didn't work out because all our audience was so excited. It started posting about it and sharing, talking about it.
I mean, that's great because that meant the audience you've been building, as much as they probably admired the previous brand, you were the personal brand of that brand, and they really admired you and your co-founder. And the fact that they were shouting about it on social media is kind of like, I mean, that says something about you and your co-founder of how you impacted those individuals, regardless of the franchise that you were. That must
Yeah,
have felt great. That must have felt amazing, right?
it did. It felt like because it did not go as planned. Because the plan was go dark and restart.
Yeah.
But, it started growing from day like, the first day itself.
I mean, that's awesome. That's kind of to take a phrase from a previous guest. It's like catching lightning in a bottle, like early on, like, because you totally restarted and then everyone's jumping on it without you doing any effort. Like it just comes to you. That's brilliant. And so now that you own 100% of the brand, Disruptive Doctors, I don't know why I was struggling so much to say it. I was supposed to be English, but now you own 100% of the brand. How's the strategy changed? How have things shifted? And another phrase of a previous guest is, getting your hands dirty into things. Does it feel different now that it's your own brand? You're building your own equity.
Yes, it definitely feels different because Um, obviously the brand is like the soul of the co-founders, right?
Yeah,
Like it starts there, right? So our mission, our vision, what we want to build and where we're heading, it's all in our hands. We decide. So that's the power of it. And very early on we can see if something's not working, it's time to pivot and it's really agile. You can do all of this if it's yours.
yeah, yeah. And what do you think might have changed in your strategy? Because you previously you had a playbook from your franchisee, so they were kind of giving you a lot of guides. What are some of the like creative new things that you've been doing that are all from you, like from just taking back control has enabled you to do these strategies?
So actually, the fun fact is from the previous brand, I got a little insight, but we didn't have a playbook.
Oh,
There was not much of a, I mean, assistant in terms of strategy. They had a website, they have the infrastructure, they had a logo, and they have like roughly the type of articles, how you get users in, but there was no real strategy. So a lot of it came from us, me, and Vivek, even from the very beginning.
mm,
So if you were to ask me if anything has changed, I think one thing is we're definitely a lot clearer. We have a lot more clarity what we are
yeah,
aiming for. I mean, we've been doing it for so many years, so I think we keep going back to the drawing board. So I think that really helps in terms of consolidating and crystallizing our thoughts and what are we, who we are,
yeah,
who we serve, and how do we impact healthcare differently.
yeah. I think when you've got clarity, like everything changes because It's not just internal clarity, but it's the positioning, it's the messaging, it's your customer base and community, like actually understanding everything that you're saying. Because if you don't have clarity, how can your audience have clarity on what the hell you do? You know,
Yep.
it's brilliant. And I think it's quite intoxicating to not intoxicating probably, but it's very enticing to see a franchise or getting like another partner side, like another business, and then bring them to Malaysia because it feels safer. I think that was some of the things we were talking about at the beginning. You felt safer by doing that. You didn't really know kind of how to go about it. And this was plan C for you, the entrepreneur. This was not even plan B. So I guess what would you say to a Malaysian considering maybe partnering with somebody else to bring their business here? Um, you know, how do you think they can protect themselves from making the same mistake that you felt you did?
One, talk to people. Two, get a lawyer. The lawyer will get a good lawyer who can, because okay, a lot of people use, I mean, myself included, we use ChatGPT to come up with the clause and whatever hell you want to write in there. But the but you cannot think of all the possible scenarios that could happen, and that comes with another person's experience, right? They are the one going to advise you. Okay, if you go down this route, this is going to happen. If you go down that route, this could possibly happen. So it's the same as if you're, I mean, what you brought up, like bring another business in, right? So you basically don't own the brand and all that, so there's a risk that whatever you build, all this can be taken from you and you have
Yeah,
to start from ground zero again. So, I mean,
yeah,
that's what happens to all this distributorship and all of that, right? Even though um you may have started on off uh, with good relations, change in management, people, all these things that you cannot predict could
yeah,
happen. And the worst case is all this can be taken from you. So, I mean, this is what this whole experience has taught me. If you don't own it, these are some of the possibility that happen. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen to everyone, but you need to be prepared that this is one of the outcomes that could happen.
yeah. I think you're the first founder I've ever spoken to who the first advice is get a lawyer. I normally avoid them like the plague, but no, I guess that makes sense, especially if you're bringing in somebody else's company. You need the lawyer to go in and get the protections in. Like ChatGPT is not going to be good enough for you if you are committed to bringing in somebody else's business.
Yeah, because okay, at the beginning, I didn't get a lawyer, and we started before ChatGPT was around, right?
Yeah.
So I got, I found template contracts and I edited it myself, and clearly it would not have made sense. And when we were having this issue with this brand, this transition, I mean, with me leaving the brand, there were threats of lawsuits. There were threats. I mean, yeah, threats of lawsuits. They were accusing me of uh, copyright infringement, IP infringement, and a lot of all this things. And like you don't want all that to really weigh you down when you should be focusing on moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing at that time I knew somebody, and it was someone I seek some advice from. He said, "Okay, here's what you do. You go and look for a copyright lawyer. He can advise you." So he found someone I could speak to, and when I was showing them the contract, and they said, "Wow, this contract is so loose. You are so lucky because if the contract is tight, I will be dead." Because
Yeah.
but also he did mention that the contract looked like it's been written by an amateur because there was some clause that didn't make sense. And it was like and one part was if this case were to go to courts, it would be in the courts of Malaysia and UK, so it didn't make sense. But if they decide to sue me in UK, I would be gone. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way our Malaysian ringgit could withstand the pounds.
So that's a whole nother part of this conversation I feel that we didn't really talk about was that you tried to leave and then the franchisee's like, hey, you're not leaving without unless it's on our terms, and they're threatening you with lawsuits and pressuring you. What was going through your mind when that was happening, just emotionally, like having to deal with that?
I guess I was just thinking, "Oh, shit, like, what do I do?" Right? Like, I had no understanding of the law, I have no understanding of the contract, and, if you're in Malaysia long enough doing business, everything's so gray, you can always get away with it, you can always find a way through, but these guys are not from Malaysia, so I didn't know what was how they played the game, right? if it was here, I kind of know how they play the game, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what I was thinking. But thankfully, there was someone who was on the team that I could speak to, and he said, "Okay, get a lawyer. Let's talk to the lawyer."
Yeah, that's good advice. I think it makes sense to get a legal advice when you're getting attacked legally, for sure. I actually once got a cease and desist letter from a competitor. It's
Wow.
because I emailed 10 of their existing customers, and I was just like, hey, I think I see you work with my competitor. I think we're better. Talk to me. Something along those lines. And within like half an hour of sending those emails, I got a cease and desist letter from their legal team. I like some people, I think if you've never received one of those before, you would be like put off. But I knew that I hadn't because they were saying I was using their brand name. And I basically I knew that I wasn't breaking any law. So I just said, I ignore your cease and desist letter. I just replied, I ignore it. See you later. Oh, well, Dr. Selena, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your founder fuck up. How can people get in touch? How can they be a part of Disruptive Doctors?
Well, if you're a doctor, download our app. It's on Google Play and the App Store. If you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. Also, follow our YouTube channel, Disruptive Doctors. Yep.
Cool. Another pod.
Yeah.
Get on Disruptive Doctors pod. All right. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you.